Okay, everybody, luckily we are on the play here, and it looks like this hand is pretty good. It's a little bit mana heavy, but I'm going to keep it because it does have a turn 2 Jack Fade in, which is pretty good. Alright, so I'm going to play these two and say go. Okay, my opponent also has his own mocks. His or her own mocks, I should say. Oh, and a Black Lotus. Okay. I'm sitting over here just like, sucks to suck. And a Jace. I mean, this is kind of what I did to myself by not having a Forcible in my hand. Vintage can definitely be like this sometimes. There are many turn 1 and turn 2 Jaces. And just a few Jace Brainstorms is enough to really seal away a game. Okay, I'm just going to try to trade away this misstep here for any of his cards. Looks like he's still going to get a chance to peek at my hand. Looks like my opponent is on some type of fair deck. Ooh. And a preordain, even more card selection for my opponent. The game is shaping up to be pretty good for him or her. Sylvan Library, the card is good, but even though it's turn 2, it's a turn too late, I guess you could say. We're still going to go with our original plan and jam Jack Fade in here. Okay, and our opponent has it all. He is able to force curses. I mean, we had to know that that was a slim chance to resolve, but we have to try. Okay. Our opponent is playing Gush and then Time Walk. Seems like a pretty good turn. Every turn that the Jace is out here, we fall further and further behind in the card advantage game. And now that the young Pyromancer has hit the table, we fall further and further behind on the board state as well. We do have a Swords to Plowshare in our hand, but unfortunately we do not have the white mana to try to get him off the table as soon as possible. It's really not looking great for us here. The card advantage you accrue with Jace over time is just insurmountable. And unfortunately we don't have many options here. Demonic Tutor, he is probably looking for recall, maybe a force, probably not even that. My guess would be recall since he already played Time Walk. We also do now know that our opponent is playing a Pyromancer Gush list. So in Vintage that is considered a more fair deck, and it looks like we were right, he was getting the recall. He is soaring ahead of us. And here we are going to look at the top 3 with Library, and we're gonna say tap out. In sideboarding, we are going to bring in a Swords to Plowshare to help with his Pyromancers. We are also going to bring in a Pyroblast to help because he has many blue spells as usual in Vintage. We are also going to bring in a Dragonlord Jamocha since it does go over the top really well. We are going to go ahead and cut a Flusterstorm because with these types of decks you don't get into an all-out counter war very often. And we're also going to cut Dak because Dak's just a little bit too slow. We're not going to have time to sculpt with him, and also no good artifacts to steal. Okay, we get to be on the play, so that's a good thing. This hand here is a borderline. It's kind of a sketcher. We don't have really a lot of action. We do have a lot of reactive spells. We do have Force up. We will be able to hold Pyroblast up right away. And we may even be able to hardcast Force on turn 2 if we want to. I do think it's a keep just based on his deck. He has a lot of good 1 mana spells that we can probably hit with Mental Misstep. He has a lot of cards that we can Pyroblast, and we do have the swords. So I think because we're coming at a few angles, it's going to be good. Okay, our opponent has kept his 7. We're going to go ahead and lead off with a Fetch and Black Lotus and say go. Oh, our opponent has all of the Moxen. Okay, I think we're just going to fire off a Misstep on this. Going to pay the life so that we have the Pyroblast backup if we need to. Okay, and it looks like we will need to. We are going to Pyroblast this speedy quick, and we are going to hope that that's all she wrote for the recall. Oh, and he has the Misstep. All of that permission, and he got through that on his turn 1. Feels bad, man. Alright, and now he gets to see our hand? Huh. Dragon Lord Jamoka. Looks like we have a new plan for this Black Lotus. Now all we need to do is draw land. There we go. Okay, let's fetch this little guy. Grab a Tundra. Pop this for green. And cast Dragon Lord Jamoka. This card is actually pretty insane in Vintage, surprisingly. Has a nice big body, can't be dismembered. So here we're just hoping he doesn't have a Jace or a removal spell. And we will soar over him if he does not. Our opponent has cast True Name Nemesis. Normally in Vintage, True Name Nemesis trumps all creatures. And he just snuffed out our Dramoka. Darn it, this guy has it all. Okay, we drew a Gush. So here we're going to cast Gush. We're going to hope to draw into some gas and a Mentor. Yes, perfect. That's exactly what we want to draw into. So we're going to play this. So we have absolutely 0 ways in our main deck or sideboard to dual True Name. So our only way to beat this True Name is to go around him. Now he realizes that he's at 10 since he did use that Snuff Out. There is a pretty high cost to that. So he realizes he can't really attack. Perfect. Brainstorm is the absolute most gorgeous draw for us because we're going to be able to trigger that and hopefully draw into a little bit more gas to keep our little Mentor army going here. And he rightfully sees that he's going to want to force that, so we can't draw into more things. Looks like our opponent is drawing quite a bit of lands. We drew a Mental Misstep. That's not really great for us to be able to help our token army now, but it is a nice little assurance to have. And we see no attacks from our opponent during this time frame. Perfect. Gush is the most beautiful draw that we could have seen. Look at all those triggers. Our mentor has grown hungry and we must feed him. Just looking for some gas to get this mentor going. Another mentor is even better. And Mox, kind of like how I said in my article, Moxes become food for mentors later. So we're going to play that second mentor, and then we're going to be able to immediately trigger the mentors with the Mox. When you see these types of triggers, you know your game plan is going well. And this is how to beat a True Name 101. It's okay to attack here. The Mentor's a 4/4, and he's just going to trade away the token, which is fine. That pretty much leaves him all but dead next turn. Since he has fallen to 5. He is going to attack Steam Probus. We're just going to mental misstep that just to make another token. 2 tokens. 2 chains off the chain here. And you can kind of see how Monastery Mentor can just turn around a completely, almost like what seems to be an unwinnable game. He is Cabal Therapying just basically to see the contents of our hand at this point to get some information. And conceding. On to game 3. As for sideboarding, I think it looks pretty good. I think we're going to leave it as is. We would bring in something if we had something for True Name, but of course we don't, so... We're on the draw, which is a scary place to be in game 3 in Vintage. Yuck, this hand is not great. All delve spells, no action. This hand is much better. Jace is a happy scry to the top. Hopefully Ponder can kind of fix this, but at least we have some action. Gitaxian Probe. This is actually kind of hard here, whether or not we mental misstep. I think I'm just going to save the mental misstep here for a better 1-drop, or a better 1-mana spell. My flesh has no secrets. The top of my deck might, though. Okay, we drew our Jace. Now we're going to Ponder. He's going to misstep it. I think it's safe to say, especially with our hand, that we're going to want to misstep back. The card selection that we can get from Ponder is going to be integral to us. Okay, here we have an Emerald, a Pyroblast, a Flooded Strand. I think we're going to keep it. The Emerald lets us play Mentor turn 2 and Jace turn 3 if we can, and then we can shuffle away the Flooded Strand after we draw the Pyroblast. Pyroblast is also pretty good against his deck, so there we go. We're going to shuffle away that Flooded Strand. Grab this, and we are going to jam with Mentor. Hope it resolves. Hope he doesn't have some type of way to deal with it. And he did. He had Snuff out yet again. He's got a case of the Snuffles. Alright, here we could jam Jace, but I think it's probably a much safer play if we just go for an end of turn dig through time. That way we can also leave Pyroblast up as well. Probably a little bit safer, because if we jam Jace and it gets countered, we're kind of SOL. Okay, here he's going to play a Jace of his own. I'm going to go ahead and dig through time in response. Exiling. This might draw a counter spell from him, and if it does, and it did draw a forcible for him, so we can go ahead and now we should be able to resolve our blast on his Jace. Now we are going to shove a Jace of our own. I could brainstorm here with Jace. It would be the most value, but I think I'm going to Fate Seal because it keeps it out of bolt range. Pyroblast anyways. Darn, I thought we were going to be good with that Jace. Looks like we're going to have to win the hard way now. Alright, let's just fire off this Treasure Cruise. The poor man's Ancestral Recall. Okay, these cards are good. Still haven't found our way to win the game, but I think we're getting close. Gush is perfect. We're going to go ahead and lead with Gush here. You want to lead with Gush over Brainstorm, because if you Brainstorm first, you're going to be drawing the 2 cards with Gush. And wow, we are exploding here. Okay, so we're just going to use our Black Lotus, pop it to go ahead and hardcast another Gush to draw 2 more cards. kind of just going off here. We have a lot of sequences that we can take. I think we're just gonna snap off one Git probe. We're not gonna pay for it because in that way we'd be able to play the Mentor if we do draw it. And who said Mentor wasn't a combo deck? Look at this. Okay, looks like we drew a land, so we're just gonna let go of one of the lands in our hand and say go, and just like that, we are back at 7 cards. Our opponent plays land, and here we're just gonna brainstorm first. Our opponent has 0 cards in hand here, so he's basically just thinning his deck at this point. Or tenderizing his life total for us, I guess. Perfect, we finally drew the Mentor. Here, I think I'm gonna put back the 2 lands, even though it would be nice to have a fetch. I'm just gonna put those guys back. I want to maximize, kind of just vomit my whole hand and try to get him dead in by next turn, which I think we might have the ability to do here. So we're gonna play the Mentor. We're going to Library of Alexandria, pretty good. We're also going to play the Mox to immediately trigger it. Going to play the Gitaxian Probe, get some more triggers. We're basically, like I said, we're just kind of vomiting our hand here so that we can make sure that we have lethal next turn, if we possibly can. Okay, and then we'll say go. We're just going to immediately snap this off. Literally 0 reason not to. Okay, and our opponent is done.